Hello, hello. Welcome to episode 30 of Wise Wednesdays. I have with me today YASH RAWAT, co founder of Empowerment Talks, a daily conversation show where he has been conducting interviews with more than 170 change makers, opinion shapers, and business leaders. Yash is an engineer by profession, an entrepreneur by choice, and an impact maker by passion. So, Yash, over to you. Thank you very much for being on the show. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rupa, for calling me on the show as well. It's been always a pleasure to go into conversations with real people making real impact in the world. And I'm very much glad to be here on the show and excited to have a conversation about a topic that is really, really close to my heart. That has really changed me as an identity as well. That is the power of consistency.
True
So,
that. And it's when I bring my speakers on board, I always ask them what is it that they would like to speak on. And you, without a second thought, I mean, like there was no room for discussion even. It's like, yes, I want to speak on the power of consistency. So why consistency was such an important thing for you?
I think consistency is important because I'll give you it by an example that you don't read a book to be a reader, or you don't run a marathon to be an athlete. You do the things because it changes to become an identity. And that has been the case with me. Like, I wanted to have conversations as my identity. And that's why I started doing it. And then the whole ET empowerment talks has started. And from that journey, I've realized that small efforts over a period of time can compound yourself and give you those results that you yourself didn't even, thought of ki all this can happen with you. But so that identity and how the people perceive you has changed so much over a period of time that I became so vocal about, and I realized the potential of what consistency is all about. And there is one more thing that you don't have to be extreme; you just have to be consistent. Right? That's a saying, and it's a quote. Somebody said it, but and that's so true. We don't have to go into the extremes. Just do simple things on daily basis, and you will be able to achieve the wonders. That's what I think of.
I love that because I think very often what we do is we make it so extreme and we make it so loud and so bigger than it actually is that begins to feel like this huge mountain that you have to climb. It begins to feel like the Everest and it feels like, oh, I can't do this. It's highly impossible. You know, it's just taking those small little steps every single day is probably the key to it.
And I would say one more thing, and that's a very interesting point that you raised here, that about the mountains. So a lot of people, when they think of getting into this radical transformation or life transformation and all this fad that is about the transformation, it's not actually that, because we kind of optimize our performance based on the finish line. That I want to lose 30 kgs in, like, 10 kgs in 30 days. I want to do this many reps and that. So you optimize your performance or your habits based on the finish line. But if you tweak it a bit and you optimize it at the starting line, that's where the shift happens. You have to say that, okay, I don't know what my end goal is going to be like, but I have to put in this 30 reps of this every single day. And over a period of time, it will be replicated into so much that you will find, okay, I've done something very big, and you may climb Mount Everest by that.
True that. And yes, the two of us are very similar because, first of all, when I came to your show, it almost felt like the tables had turned.
No worries.
And it was interesting to be on the other side where I'm being interviewed for a change because obviously you were doing the honors then, and now the other way around. Um, and it's interesting because as a journalist, when I've interviewed different people, they have impacted the way I think. For example, what you said about the mountain and the one step forward, I happen to have interviewed somebody who was 65 years plus, and he would always run the Standard Chartered Marathon year after year. And he was old, um, but he would do that. And when I spoke to him as one of the eldest participants on the marathon, what he told me was beautiful because he said, I don't run the marathon looking at the end goal. I just look at it as 100 meters and 100 meters and 100 meters that I have to get done. And that's how I reach the end. So, who have been the people who really, really impacted you in your journey of 170 conversations?
I would say I would give you an example of the marathon itself. Like,
Okay.
when you run a marathon, there would be people who you don't even know. Like when you start, let's say you do a 10K run or a 21K run, and let's say you're doing a 10K run, you will be you will be with a lot of herd of people that you start with. When you go move forward, you will find the space for yourself. Then the trail will be too long, and then once you are there, you are running. There would be so many angels on the side who don't know you, who have never been interacted with you, whom neither you know, but they will push you because you are hustling over there. And the moment somebody with a crippled leg or somebody with struggling so much, there would be people who will push that extra motivation. And I think that extra motivation, getting those from the angels that you don't even know, pushes you to do about it. And that's what, like, I think it's the as a human being or as a person, you don't realize your potential until and unless somebody pushes you to do it. And when I say somebody pushes you to do it, is internal motivation for a fact is the biggest motivation, but that external push that people. And answering to your question, so one of them being my founder, like the Faisal, who is my dear friend, through which I've started this empowerment talks, and so he has been one of the biggest motivation. And then there were so many mentors from my Toastmasters journey, from even the speakers who have came to this platform, they became the mentors. And I look forward to, like, becoming somebody like you or becoming somebody like other people when they come to show. So it's all about raising this mindfulness and self-awareness about what I'm good at. And then over a period of time, I really loved having conversations, and that's what the show has been for.
And as you say, angels who are supporting us, I do have a few of my angels watching in. So I've got Kasaji who's watching. I've got Anil who's watching, who watches our shows and has been part of your journey too. There's Dale, there's Cindy, there's Vidya, there's who's watching. So everybody's saying hello to us, and it
Thanks.
is in fact a very important topic
Do
to look.
subscribe to this channel if you are watching these. It's been an
Yes. Oh, yes,
amazing.
I forgot to ask. If you're new to the show, if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. So thank you guys for tuning in. Anil says, apart from his conversational skills, he can conduct the whole business at ease. What's that about?
So is it Anil Thomas? I just want
Oh,
to.
yes, it is Anil Thomas. Yes, you know who it
So
is.
yeah, we have been cooking something for a while, like myself and Anil has been constant support into that, and he has been the constant mind behind that. So there is something cooking, and it's coming up, and you soon will be, getting involved into that as well. I don't want to disclose everything over
All
that business side of that, but there is something myself and Anil is cooking, and I'm glad to be have been working with him on that project with.
right. Awesome.
And he has been actually working for empowerment talks, and there are two clubs that he runs. That is the Empowerment Talks Kids, and then the ebook re-show. So he has been there for Empowerment Talks for a while. So been working for him for a while. So
Yes,
it's a great pleasure.
I've also been in conversation with him. He's a great guy. Okay, Yash, tell me, when you look at consistency and you are talking about taking those simple steps moving forward, what about on those days that you don't feel like it? Some days either are too long or too tiring, or they just like don't have that energy.
Motivation.
Energy, even forget motivation, you don't even have the energy to kind of take that next step forward. How do you still keep pushing, or do you kind of give yourself some ease?
I think what I can say is what I look forward is to have a good story. Like I think the world is full of storytellers, and the more powerful you make your story is, the better you become as you go about your personal branding or as you go about selling or anything that you do. And for me, it's like it's about the clarity of the vision, what I'm aiming for, And for that, this story has to be written every single day, and it has to be done every single day, again and again, again and again, again, into it. Because it's not about the lack of motivation. It's like there is a clarity, and I know what the clarity and what this is leading to. So even if, like, there have been days, like, literally I'm back from office at around 6:55, and I have to start the show at 7. There have been so many days like that, but it has to be done. And if it is to be done, and now I just want to keep it doing. So coming to the point of lack of energy and all, so over a period of time, we have, after like around 100th episode that myself and Faisal did, after that we have compounded it, and there are a lot more hosts on the show of Empowerment Talks. So we have divided it, and now it's a community-driven initiative. So a lot of things are happening, and then there are multiple hosts on the show as well.
Right. So I like what you say. You're an entrepreneur by choice, right? So,
Yeah.
when it comes to entrepreneurship, sometimes we as business owners, or we as people who want to get out there and do stuff, we feel hesitant to kind of pass the baton on to the other person. We feel a little hesitant to delegate work, and we feel like, will they do a good enough job? And I like what you said. It's a compounded effort now. It's a community-driven initiative now. So, how important is it to evolve when you're
I
on a
think
project?
one of the very important aspects of leadership is delegation, and I suck at it. I can say that I'm really bad at it, because, and I'm still learning in that. That's why entrepreneurship kind of, entrepreneurship gives you that dimensions to explore of yourself. And so, because you still think that, if I delegate it to somebody, and even in my professional life as well, if I delegate it to somebody, I would have to explain it to him for like 20 hours, and then he would come up with something, and then I would have to again change it. So it's better that I put my 5 hours in and I do it, right? So I'm literally struggling with that, but at the same time exploring other options of how delegation can work with. And obviously, you don't have to be that busiest person if you're running the business. You have to be, more strategic, and what is the aim and vision for the company, like, rather than doing the day-to-day operations for the business. So I'm still exploring that dimension of it. And to be honest, as of now, I've been really bad at it. That's what I can see. But yeah, working on it. And coming to entrepreneurship by choice, so I'll just give I have like three startups in the past. Two failed miserably, but a lot of learnings from that. And one is I ran it over a period of time, then sold it, and then venturing into a few more into the current journey of mine. So I just love to spend like time being an entrepreneur.
Okay. So, do you even believe in the concept of failure?
Failure, like, if it depends on how you measure the failure, because you just, there's this thing about how you measure your success, how you do it, and there is this thing again that is how you measure about failure, and not many people speak about it. Like, if you're measuring just the financial loss that you have had in the business, then I think every other business is a failure, because the financial losses in the business at the initial stages. But like, I'll tell you, in my 4 years of my professional life, and if somebody from my company is watching is, I don't know. In 4 years of my professional life, what I've learned as a person, and my 3 months of entrepreneurship, I think the learning is immense in the entrepreneurship side. So in terms of learning, failure teaches you a lot, and how you come back from it again teaches you. And at the same time, it becomes a good story to tell as well. And that's what, it connect the dots to your previous question. Like, a failure story would sell well, like how you came out of a failure and became a success, rather than just, that constant story. So
True. Because the kind of constant stories are kind of boring. It's like, yeah, okay, fair enough. Where are the bumps, and the where's the grind? What just happened over there? So we have Dale watching all the way from Farm Country, Ohio. We have Cindy also watching all the way from the US. Shweta says you both are doing awesome. Lots of love and power to you both, to you guys. Shweta Gupta.
yeah,
Uh,
she's my regular audience in Empowerment Talks.
awesome. So Dale also says, I find I never stop growing. And that's so important, isn't it? To always keep growing. and that's what consistency gives for us.
I think
Okay.
if we speak about consistency for a point, so if you break it down, there are broken down into what do you notice, what do you want, and then what do you do, and then what do you like. And I can go a bit more into the conversations, but it's like noticing means like you can't be consistent about anything that is not in the realm of your knowledge, right? Like you would have to have a knowledge about, it should be under your sphere. Like
Hmm.
I can't drink a coffee for a fact if I don't know what the coffee is. A lot of people think that if he is consistent in doing that, or if you are consistent in doing that, I can be. But it should be in the realm of your knowledge of. I can't. I know for a fact I can't do those 100 push-ups a day, but I may be good at something else. So
Hmm.
realizing and noticing what actually makes you happy, is what takes you ahead. So that's been the case as well for me.
I love you brought that up because that sometimes we hold the wrong people as our role models.
True.
We look at some people who are really up there, and then we begin to feel small. Or we look at somebody who's so reachable that we don't push ourselves hard enough. So that's so important. I love what you said about it has to be in the realm of your understanding of what consistency is. So
It's good that even in bed day before yesterday's episode at ET, this point came up. Like we compare ourselves with the best. Don't compare yourself with the best. Compare yourself with the worst, so that you actually feel good. And
hmm,
feeling good is so good about doing anything. If you don't feel good about doing anything, just don't do it, because your motivation will just kill in like a second. Like you can do it for like 10 days and then you'll be like, okay, no, I don't feel good about it. Because I think there's this thing as well that if you have a good habits, then time is your ally. If you have a bad habit, then time is your enemy. And it's so true. Like, when you do something really good, like time really favors it. But if you have a bad habit, the time is the enemy. Like if you watch Netflix, the 2 hours will go like straight away. Like, straight away your 2 hours will be gone. Or if you're addicted to, so that is the thing. Like actually this good times make you, good habits make you feel that you have time with you.
I do agree. So, guys, please post in any comments, any questions that you might have around consistency, any experiences that you'd like to share with us. I'm not particularly sure if this is relaying on LinkedIn, but we are getting comments coming in from YouTube and Facebook. So, please do participate. Let us know your thoughts on consistency. Where in life have you been consistent? Where in life would you like to be consistent? And how has being consistent worked for you? Dale says, I think it is the nuances of my subject that keeps me growing when I was doing healing. Ah, so and again, it's all about what you are dealing with and how you're looking at things. So earlier today on my live, I spoke about being in alignment with your definition of success. And I can very well drop off success and call it consistency because again, to be in alignment with your definition of consistency is so important, right? For some people, they might look at the larger picture and say, if I can do this 3 times in a week, that for me is consistency, and doesn't have to be continuous days. It just could be a flow that it is. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think when it comes to alignment with the success of your consistency, so obviously there is this whole thing of you make a vision board, and then you do your goal setting, then you make your habits, and I'm pretty familiar with like if I go into that, then itself is a big topic to talk about. But
Yeah.
yeah, that goal setting part and having those smart goals is really important, and that has to align with your success for sure. And then breaking it down to the habit and actually doing it. And I would say it was the fact that a lot of people why they give up on the habits is, and when I say about a habit, because there's a difference when you have a good habit, so you have to pay the cost of it initially, and the results are delayed. Like if I say I do 100 conversations or I did 2,000 conversations, then I'll be like wise or wisdom like every other guru is all about. Or if I'm doing like 30 reps of in a gym, then my body will be better. Like the consequence of it will be seeing after 3 months or 4 months. And the opposite of it is a bad habit. When you have a bad habit, you would have the consequence, or you feel good right away. Like you eat that donut, you feel that good, you in the sugary thing right away. But the consequence is delayed, because and you'll have that tummy after like 3 months or something like that. So that's why it becomes, because when we do a good habit or something, we don't see those results and then we lack the motivation. But as I say, many people in life, they don't lack motivation, they just lack the clarity. So that's what it is. If you have the clarity, I think you will push away. And I would go about designing your environment, because that is very important. How you design your environment when you have to focus on a certain habit or a certain success principle. And I'll give you an example here. Like a lot of our living rooms are designed in such a way that we want to watch that TV. Like, you will have that sofa, you will have that other things, and you would everything would be facing about TV, because it's designed, like all the architecture is designed to make you watch that TV.
Yeah.
But and you can it's a saying that you don't have to be the victim of your environment, you can be the architect of your environment as well. Like you can actually go about designing the environment that you like the space that I've created in my place, it's full of gardens and all the books that, so it helps me to get into the zone of reading those books, it helps me to get into those zone of shooting those videos. So it's about designing those environment or being an architect of that environment that helps you prosper to do that. Like every single day when you wake up, instead of putting that book back into the shelf, just put that book on the pillow. So when
Hmm.
you come back in the night, you make sure you read that book.
Hmm.
So that's how you design the environment in such a way. Or if you want to play a guitar, don't put a guitar somewhere at the close, put it in the middle, so every time you pass by, you play that guitar. So you design your environment in such a way that you make sure you do that.
True that. And I do agree. One of the things that I've recently started doing is I've stopped using my phone as my alarm clock. Because the first thing you touch in the morning to when you wake up is your phone, because you set your alarm on it, you switch it off, you hold on to it, you snooze it, whatever you might do, and then you just get kind of zapped into the social media world or whatever it might be. Just want to check that one message, and then one becomes another and another, and before you know it, you've lost your first beautiful golden hour of waking up super early. So my phone no longer wakes me up. I actually use a tiny little alarm clock to wake me up, and that's made a world of difference, because it just means that I will touch my phone after I've completed my morning rituals, after I've completed whatever needs to get done in the morning, and then address what else is waiting for me in
I
life.
would challenge you in one more thing, and it's a kind of an experiment that you can, and you must have already done it, but I'm just saying it here, but for the audience as well.
Yeah,
But
please tell.
it's just like like there are busy days, right? Like if on a weekdays you have to make sure that you have to wake up at 6, right? If you don't wake up at 6, then you can't go to office and all that. But when you have free days, right? Tomorrow is a Friday or tomorrow is a Saturday, and you don't have any, that even if you wake up at 7 or even if you wake up at 9, it doesn't gonna make up a difference. So I don't put my alarm on those days. I don't put it, but I feed into my mind that I have to wake up at 8. Like, the subconscious mind training.
I've done it.
I'm so fascinated that it actually makes you wake up at that particular moment. Like, I'm not telling it 100% it happens, but you would be amazed that you wake up at 8. Like you told you had to wake up at 8 and you woke up at 8. And I'm like, how is this happening? I don't have any idea, but still it happens. So I do challenge and experiment it on myself, but I don't do it on the weekdays for sure.
And I would like to challenge you to take it up on a weekday. If you trust it on a weekend, why don't you trust it on a weekday?
I do, but then I have this alarm as well. So I would probably start doing it on weekdays as well. As of now, I've not started it, but
No,
it's just like I don't trust myself.
you don't trust yourself. It's not about you. It's your subconscious that's waking you up. So that's even better.
Yeah.
Because when I was little, I was told, tell the pillow to wake you up. And I didn't, when you're little, you don't really argue. And so that's what I did. But then now, obviously, when you get into the NLP and everything else, you realize it isn't the pillow that's waking you up, it's your subconscious. And it's amazing. So thanks for bringing that up. I'm sure people would enjoy doing that experiment. Cindy says, consistency gives me structure in my life and it gives me a daily sense of accomplishment. I have daily rituals that I do and they're non negotiable. They have become habits. Hmm. And I happen to be one of her non negotiables. I love her for that. So thank you,
Uh,
Cindy.
on that, I would want to add on one more thing. And sorry, I just love to have conversations, so I may cut you
Please,
off.
yes. Why? Sorry, you're here for that.
So again, putting up that structure in place, it actually helps. And there was this book I was reading. It's The Power of Habit. Or there was this experiment that was stated about in this group. And so what they do is they divide the whole class or the community into three parts. And the first group they ask, okay, you have to do this raps for a particular days, and you just go about doing it. So they are just told that you have to do it. The second group has been shown those motivation videos or YouTube videos that you have to do it and you can do it and all sort of thing, and they have to do the similar thing. And the third group has to is just said, and they were also said that you will be doing this at this particular moment on this particular day every single day, or the schedule was made up. And guess what were the results?
You tell me.
Yeah. So the results were like the first group was hardly performing because they were just told. The second group, that was where they were shown those videos, they were shown those motivation thing. There was this motivation once they attend the seminar and come back and they just do it for a day. And the third group, when you had a structure in place, when you had a plan in place, when you said yourself, committed yourself that I'm gonna be doing this thing on this particular day, like when you have a schedule and the planning in place, they have 2x to 3x time result. And it's not that hard. Like making a calendar for yourself is not that hard. Like we have all professional calendars where we have meetings scheduled every single day, but having it for yourself, like your personal calendar, actually makes you push and just put it up that every day 6 p.m. I'm gonna be doing this. Every day 7 p.m. I'm gonna be doing this, and you'll be amazed at what all things you can do. Like just putting it up.
Yep. And it's interesting what you bring up because one of the things that I felt as lockdown happened was a lot of us felt a little overwhelmed by the fact that everybody has to work together from home. The kids are studying, the husbands are home. If you're a working mom, you also have to manage that, and it was so overwhelming for a lot of us, and it just became about kind of managing so many things and so many roles in one shot. But as things began to progress, those of us who were able to kind of align and bring a timetable and a flow structure into the day were able to keep their sanity, while the others kind of just lost how they were feeling or felt very, very lost. So it is important to have some level of structure
I
and a
would say
level.
there are many apps that people can use, and like I'm very like I don't like I'm a Gen Z, so I just try to explore the new technology wise how I can support myself. So there are a lot of apps like Calendly and Monday.com and other Trello, and just they helps you schedule a lot of tasks for you, and it's all automated. So everything is automated, so you don't have to struggle of putting it up,
Absolutely.
all those
Big
things.
big fan of Calendly. So yes, I do get it. It just sends you the Zoom link, everything is sorted, and I don't have to bother keep going back and forth in terms of am I available at this time, not available.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, true.
quite smooth. So we have Ram who commented and said, appreciate your efforts and dedication to the community and topics that are chosen. Great effort and enthusiasm for the team. So Ram K,
Again from Empowerment Talks.
obviously. And Dale says, I've learned to take a no tech day, put my cell phone away for a day. That's definitely very helpful because sometimes technology somehow tends to overpower your day, And I do know a few people who go, minor no tech day, as Dale is saying, and that definitely has been helpful. I did a no WhatsApp, a little silly, but end of the year I didn't know WhatsApp until a week plus, so that I could actually see the old year on my phone as the last scene, and I was like,
You
okay.
know what I'll say? There's a difference. What I feel like, so all these apps have started being as a personal apps. Okay, so you
Yeah.
have your professional life running, and then you have to use this for your personal benefits, right? When WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, everything was coming up. Now what has happened is this are merged. Like your
Mm.
profile has so much merged with these apps that if I don't go into WhatsApp, I may lose a business. If I don't post that story on Instagram, if I don't post that social media, I'm losing the business. And that's what people kind of give that, you can say an excuse of using it so much, or it's just being used. But what it actually does is you go into WhatsApp for your business needs, but you come out of the WhatsApp or YouTube watching something else about other things. And I don't know whether you watch this or not. The Social Dilemma that is making a buzz in the Netflix right now. It's about the documentary that they made about that. So it's extremely, you have to be very cautious. Like my screen time is a lot. Like I'm trying to reduce it. While I started to segment it out, key okay, 7 to 9 I will not see, then 9 to 9:30 I will see, but then it was not also working. So
Hmm. So got to figure out a way to do this. I know some people who actually assign times in terms of, this is the time that I'm going to have this half an hour bracket to kind of look at my messages, half an hour bracket to look at my emails. Because as you said, you go in to reply to one message, and then you get involved with so many other things that before you know it, 2 hours have passed and you're still there, and that really doesn't help. So we have a question from Vidya, who says, how do we make up for the timetable or schedule loss due to some interferences, some unexpected and some unavoidable? Great question, Vidya.
I would say that if it's a habit and if it's missed by a day or two, it won't become a big issue. But
Hmm.
if it is some like why, because I, for a fact, want to don't stress out on your habits, because habits should be something that has to come naturally. If you stress down that, if you take that stress of I have to do that 30 push-ups, it's a stress. It's a stress you have piled up. You have not piled up a habit. So even if it's missed or a day or two, like habit should be something that you enjoy doing it. Like that's what I find a habit for. Otherwise, I'll not try.
True. I don't think she's talking about habits. She's talking about how do you make up for the time or schedule lost. So I think this is with reference to the fact that you said you should have a schedule. So how do you make up for time or schedule lost due to some interferences, unexpected, unavoidable? Like life happens, as they
True,
say.
true, true. There have been a lot of cases like that, but recently I've started putting up backup plans for that. Like if I'm not there, should be something, there should be somebody. But yeah, there have been bad days where we have to kind of, you can't be 100% perfect. But I think if you achieve 90% out of what you have said, that also makes a huge, huge, huge difference.
True that. And so, and this comes from somebody who has now made watching these weekly videos a non-negotiable, and she's keeping up on it. So thank you, Vidya, for being a regular on the show. All right. So tell me a little more on consistency and the connection between impact, because
Okay.
you said you're an impact maker by passion. So what's the connection, if at all?
So I'll just say you a very simple thing. Something repeated over a 2 or 3 times will fade away. Something repeated over a period of time will actually create that impact. That's what I think of. And when I say, and I would come back to where it started, like it's all about creating that identity. It's just like not read. You're not reading a book for being a reader. You're just creating that identity for yourself. So that's what. So when it comes to creating that impact, and if you have like good story, impactful story, and people would get influenced and people would appreciate. Like my friends, when I was doing, I did like 25 episodes. So I'll tell you about the circle of influence. When the first people you influence is your friends and families, then a bigger influence, then a bigger influence, and then a bigger influence. So my first 25 episodes were like, okay, yes, he's doing something. Okay, he's doing something. He started something, he's doing something. That's all.
Yeah.
They were 50 episodes. Okay, okay, yeah, he's doing something. 100 episodes. Oh my god, he's damn serious. 150 episodes. Oh my god, yeah, is he crazy? So this has been happening, and that impact. Now, if I go and say something to them, it was the same year. Like in their eyes, in my eyes, I've changed a lot. But for external world who they don't know about me or they know about me, like what they would have not acknowledged what I said at the start of my journey and what I say now, they would listen and they would acknowledge it just because I've done this journey. That's what they kind of. So then you go about creating that impact into the people. So again, empowerment talks have been a good, you know, where I have written a story and still writing it. But there are other places that I kind of like, and one of the things is like as why I keep on doing it is to explore the inner dimensions. And when you go into conversations, you kind of self-aware of what other people are saying. And if you look at all the speakers that come to your show or to any of the shows, like they will say a lot of things. Few of the things you'll take away and you'll start implementing in your life. And what's harm in that? They are obviously good wisdom oriented people. They know more about world and they know more wisdom and knowledge. So what's bad about it? So that's that I go about influencing people.
Because again, as I said, as a journalist, I've interviewed so many people, and very often what somebody says, as maybe as a business owner, or even somebody I might have interviewed as a tea boy, if if the attitude and the approach to life is something that I would like to take on, I'm happy to. Because if there is value in the way someone is looking at their life, if it's inspiring, if it's something that I want to create as a shift for myself, why not? These interviews actually started when I touched 700 days of my daily live videos.
Wow. Wow.
Thank you. Thank you. Because it was like when I touched 100, it was like this. I was actually going through the previous, I should actually say historical videos. When I was looking at the milestone videos, at 100 days, it felt like this massive celebration. 200 also, 300 also, 400 also. But it kept going down in terms of the whole celebration part of it went down. The intention of serving became bigger.
True.
The perspective shifts. It no longer becomes like, yay, I'm celebrating 100 days. It becomes more of, how can I give more, what can I do more? So
True.
yeah, so at 900 what I did was, it didn't even feel like a celebration at 900, because for me at 900 it felt, okay, I'm going to take this to 1,000 days, but I'm going to take this to 1,000 days more powerfully. So now I relay it across all the three different platforms, and it's been working out quite fine for the last 5 days. 905 today. So yeah, I mean the perspective also changes when you're doing something consistently. The intention where you're taking it absolutely changes.
And there's one thing I want to talk about is about the reward. And
Yeah.
so what happens is, as I mentioned before, you do read those books, you do read those transformational videos, and you want to become that public speaker, you want to become that influencer, you want to become that big person, and you read those books, you attend those interviews, you conduct those interviews, and then you go about doing it, and then you're saying, okay, what's happening in my life? I'm still the same here. Okay, there's something different. I feel like but the world is not feeling like I'm different or something like that. So what you have to do is like you have to constantly reward yourself, like validate growth. That's very important. Otherwise, the reward that is going to come after 2 or 3 years may not give you that motivation. So in terms of rewarding, like even if you feel like you have had a good interview here, you just go and treat yourself, go and treat yourself good enough for you and make yourself feel good at the end of the day. For me, like daily success, if you look at my successes, I can do whatever is the to-do list for the day. And if I've done it, I'm the most successful person in the world today.
Yep.
That's all. This is what I meant to do today. I did it, and then it is all about. I don't know how it is gonna be aligned to what I want to become in the near future, but then it's all about being happy today. So rewarding yourself in those journeys is very, very, because people lose motivation like anything, and they just give up. They give a lot of people give it up on that. Like, I've seen like people starting something and not getting results out of this because the external validation, and they just give it up on this.
Yep. And there are days where I've just spoken to the camera with nobody watching, on the live, because I mean, like as you said, like people have stood by you for 50 episodes, 100 episodes, and then they're like, okay, he's doing something, she's doing something. And then there are times when people kind of either lose interest or they have other things to do. Obviously, this is my journey, it's not theirs. And so I've turned on the camera and there's nobody watching. And yet I have spoken. Why? Because I know somebody will come back to that message. And whoever needs to receive that message on whatever day will find it. I'm sure even with your talks, when you scroll down and you see sometimes somebody has visited a talk that was done maybe 2 weeks ago, a month ago, and because that was the message that they needed to receive in that moment that day.
What I would say is actually you made a very valid point, and why it has been running so powerfully, and running, and why I'm doing it, because they I, I never imagined, like I've studied, I've done my graduation, I've done good universities in India, and then read so many books and all this thing. But the transformation in this 3 or 4 months was so immense that was not there before. And it's not that I've started living right now. Like I've been living from past 25, 26 years. So what has been that change, right? So when you look at that, and if it is bringing you transformation and you acknowledge the transformation, then obviously, and then it's also serving the needs of the community. So then it was like, even if there are 20 people, 25 people, I know for a fact that after this conversation, I'm gonna be a bit better than who I was before this conversation. And it's okay, the back end work is huge when it comes to hosting the show daily, but when you know you cannot get the reward, you cannot get that one message out of that whole conversation, why not do it? So that's what I'm doing.
And when you say about acknowledging, I would like to thank and appreciate Devesh Rawat, who has actually subscribed the host platform and supported it. So thank you, Devesh.
He is my
Okay,
brother.
obviously, no mentioning about the surname, so Devesh Rawat.
Yeah.
Um, all right, so we have Vidya, who also said there could be a shift of focus, short or long, due to interferences. So that's the question that she had asked, and she said she's facing this kind of challenge being a housewife.
Uh,
And yeah,
yeah, you can go about completing the question.
yeah. So that's what it was. She said she's facing this kind of challenge being a housewife.
Like, though I don't know the peculiarities of her habits and all sort of thing, but being a housewife, and if she's saying, I don't know, the India or Dubai, wherever, but when I say it's more of the, if you have dedicated time slots, I know, like for housewives to manage their schedule because it's too spontaneous and all sort of other things. But it may be like if the habit is all about learning, it may be about learning something or doing something. So just have a me time, like a lot of, like, that's what I think of, like housewives when I look at them, like my mother or something. So she doesn't have a me time.
Hmm.
So find out that me time for yourself, because that is very much important. And okay, you may relate to it, but the me time is so important,
It is.
and
It
that's
is.
what I think about it.
And I do relate with it. I know her quite well. She is in India at the moment. She is an amazing person. And yes, Vidya, I completely hear you when you're talking about the challenges of interruptions. But just making that time and sometimes just being selfish about it is not a bad thing to do, because as much as other things and interferences are important, when you have a structure in your day and have an agile structure in your day, um, what happens is you are able to weave certain things into the day, but you're also able to say no to certain things. You just have to be a little bit more affirmative on that, and just move forward accordingly. So these are my thoughts. So we have Sadi Storama, who says, "Nice to see both of you very productive, Yash." So Sadi Storama, I know you're new to the page, to the channel, so do subscribe.
Yeah.
What were you saying, Yash?
No, I think he's Ahmed. He's from my volleyball team, so I didn't expected him to be here, but good to see you here, man.
That's the whole fun of this. So because people want to understand consistency, I do think consistency is that big, huge thing that we've made out of, like, it is difficult to do. People have called it a challenge. People think it's difficult to be consistent. Um, so, for example, I love your thing on me time. Just dividing your time or dividing your day into areas of working, and then picking out what works in those areas. Like me time could be anything, right from meditation to a walk to maybe watering the plants, to reading a book, to spending time with your family. Even all of these things could combined come under me time, right? And then
So
just picking one thing from each on each day, and then making that as a consistent effort that you make. Sorry to interrupt you. Yes, tell me.
no, there can be immensely like whatever you love doing can be me time, but over a period of time, again through the insights that I've got through ET, so my me time is all about learning. If so, I just dedicate like 15 minutes, and if I have to learn a certain software, if I have to learn I was so curious about learning this OBS. So it's again a streaming platform and all, and I was not getting that time to sit down and learn about it. And for a fact, you have to realize that not everything can be outsourced, because outsourcing comes from a lot of money you have to spend on, and all those sort of other things. You have to realize that this is the time that you have to kind of do it for yourself. And then when you do it, you realize that I have to learn this digital marketing tool, or I have to learn this thing, I have to learn this thing. So my me time is all about learning. I have like, okay, 4 things I have to learn. I have a week time. I dedicate 15 minutes of YouTube video. I'll just watch it. That is my me time. Because otherwise, like working on certain business projects and full-time job and all sort of things, it just becomes too much overwhelming. And for me, there is a lot of fun time as well, because I just want to escape from this life. So I do a lot of activities like volley, hiking, and all sort of other things. So
Hmm.
just escape from this digital world, because on the weekdays it becomes so overwhelming for me that I have like 16 hours in front of me.
Hmm.
So for me time is all about learning, and it's just like 15 minutes of whole 24 hours. So it's not much, but that is very important.
That is very important. It feels like you've fed yourself something that truly fuels you. So that's very, very important. Vidya says, thanks a ton, Ruxan Yash. Guests being available for others most of the time puts ourselves at the back. Thanks once again. We'll revisit, revise, and redo the stuff. And go for it, because you definitely can do this. And I love what you said, Yash, about making time for that which is important to you. I do my own videos. I do my own snippet videos. Of course, initially they were very crude, but over a period of time, as you work consistently towards it, kind of becomes a little more smoother. You begin to understand what could be the glitches, how to work around it, and then when you feel like you're working on something for yourself, that definitely becomes motivation to move forward. Vidya is amazing with her painting and art, just letting you know.
And I would say one more thing. A lot of people can come, say about I want to change this, I want to change this, I want to change my this. So forget about changing. Just focus on upgrading, because it's so important. Like, people say that I don't want to change, I don't want to do that, I want to do that. I'm okay with that. You may be okay with whatever you are doing, but you have to go with the world as well. If the world is on LinkedIn right now, you can't be just on Facebook, right? If the world is on Instagram, you have to upgrade yourself to that platform. You have to create content for that platform. You have to, put in that extra effort, because it's not about you doing something. It's about, is it getting consumed, and over a period of time you would have to upgrade yourself into the platforms, into the kind of the things that you do as well. Like now, like you may be doing a 15-minute video before, but now if you ask somebody to watch a 15-minute video, nobody will watch it. They just want the content to be delivered to them in less than 2 minutes.
Yep.
And in that, your initial 10 seconds should be very powerful. So you have to upgrade yourself. You can't just be, okay, I'm good at 15 minutes video, I'll just do that. Okay, then you'll kind of lose. Upgrading and understanding the new tools and technology, if you are in digital world, is so important. And that's how the marketing has been evolving, because they kind of play with our psychology.
Absolutely. And also, apart from upgrading, it's also important to understand what you need to declutter,
Wow.
what you need to get rid of, right?
That's so true.
Because sometimes your day is so full of stuff that is not even needed, that it takes up a lot of your time. So understanding what you need to get rid of, what you need to declutter, so that you're making room for that which will come when you upgrade, is so important as well, right?
I think when you make that vision board, right? Like you did your vision, you must have done a lot of times, but a lot of people in the audience who have done that vision
Yes.
board and the wheel of life. So when you do that and then you live your life, you kind of see that every action you do is aligned with something, and that itself is a huge introspection to have. When I say a huge introspection to have is, if you're doing an action, you know which part of your life is it getting feeded into. So you
Yeah.
don't feel like I'm wasting it.
Hmm.
And just so if you have spent the time on something and then all of us have this guilt that, oh, why I've watched this.
Hmm.
Everybody of us have this guilt of wasting our time when we could have done something productive. That's like in everybody's life, right? So, but when you do that whole exercise, you feel like even if the same exercises that you were doing before, you see it as that, okay, this is time utilized rather than time wasted. And that is
Hmm.
very important for your mental state of being, because I've been into that zone where I used to end endless hours of content and then have this guilt the very next day. I could have done shoot like 3 videos better.
Yeah.
But then after doing that wheel of life, I've understood that, okay, why, if I watch some good content, why is that also important to my life as well?
True.
So so I would usually recommend everybody in the audience to go through that if you've not done it. There are a lot of vision board, and maybe Rukia may be conducting one. I don't know whether you conduct those vision board and goal setting ones. So you can
I
share.
do. I do. When I do trainings, yes, I do. I do that. But I haven't done it online. That's an idea to work on. Why not? But yes, when I do my workshops, yes, we do a lot of vision planning, vision boards, etc. And it is very, very effective as a tool. And one of the things that I talk about is, when you do your vision board, it's important to not attach and cling to the outcome,
Yep.
because the more you cling to your outcome, the more difficult it becomes for you to be consistent, because as you rightfully said, it takes time to see those results. And if you attach yourself, latch on too hard to that image that you have on the vision board, then and it's not happening anytime soon, if it's taking its time to happen, then you tend to kind of get anxious and you let go and you move to the next one, and then you become that monkey mind that just doesn't settle on one thing. So
Uh,
it's
like,
important.
like to sum it up, like the thing is, like, every habit that you develop is gonna take longer than 2 minutes. Like none of your habits can be completed in less than 2 minutes. I can say that. You can't just have a habit of putting your, like less. But what I want to say is, but you can start any habit in less than 2 minutes, and that is very important. So starting it is one of the things. Just go about doing it. Just do it. Just start with it. A lot of people
No,
don't. A lot of people, they want to do this, they want to do this, they want to do this. and it's all into the mind. It doesn't come into the paper and it doesn't get executed. So the first thing is about noticing it and then wanting it. When I say wanting it, is to have the desire of having it. Like if there is a coffee mug over there, I have noticed it. But if I don't have the desire of having that coffee inside me, then I would not about doing it. So first thing is about noticing something, that is noticing in the knowledge, the realm of knowledge. Then having the desire or having that want that I need this.
Hmm.
Because when I consume it, I'll get happy about it. And then doing it, and then it's all about liking it. So there are like four stages of it: noticing, wanting, doing, and liking. And when you get into the liking stage, it's all in autopilot mode. Then it's all about like, I'm sure like Rukia is on autopilot mode now. Like she is liking what she's doing. So that's her habit now.
It is. It is, and to the point where now when I share with people that I want to stop my daily videos at 1,000 days, and I've actually calculated 24th of January should be my day 1,000, and then there's a little voice in my head that says, "Do you really want to stop? Because you love it so much. Do you really want to?"
Like when I'm at 175 or something, but 1,000 is too big thing to achieve, and I think
Thank you. So
consistently
excuse me.
every single day.
Every single day, back to back, every single day, regardless of which country I've been in, because as you know, I do travel quite often before COVID. But when I would travel also, so it was outstanding because I'm in Melbourne and it's 10 p.m., whereas in UAE it was at the time 2 p.m. My usual time used to be 2 p.m. And in Melbourne, I'm doing the show at around close to 10 p.m. And it's like this day and night difference, yet it's the same. So that whole understanding of how everything shifts when you're in a different location was like mind blowing for me. And but I kept going. So yes, 1,000 days is what I'm looking at. That is if the little voice in my head doesn't take over. So I think we have your mom watching, Sunita. She says, "Great going, my son." Thank you. Amazing, amazing. I love when family supports. Kunen, who says, great point, Yash. Dale says, "I usually need to declutter my brain." Don't we all, Dale? It is important to declutter your brain because the first alphabet in my smile strategy is S, which is to silence your mind. Because there's so much of stuff that's going on in your mind that it's the most important thing to actually do is to declutter your mind, to declutter your brain. And very important. That too.
Yeah, it's like you will have to stir it to bring it back and then put it. This is like a normal saying. And it's about there's one more thing. It's about consistency and it's about staying focused as well. And when I say about staying focused, is to have that clarity. Clarity is important for me. So a lot of people sell motivation,
Yep.
like motivation. I don't buy motivation. I'm like, if somebody can give me the clarity, then I can
Hmm.
motivate. So that's it. It's not about. So
Yeah.
if you give me that clarity that this is what it is, and you have to go about doing it, then I know for a fact, and a lot of people know for a fact that you can go about doing it. And when I say staying focused, is like you will have all sort of problems. There are like all sort of problems that you can imagine in your life. You'll have financial losses, you'll have family problems, you'll have this problem, that problem. And the funny part is everybody thinks that that problem
The
is for
biggest.
is the peculiar, is the biggest problem, is you don't understand what I'm going through and all sort of things. So, but you have to stay focused at what you're doing, and this is like you can say in a mythological way that God is testing you and all sort of things, and on how you are putting up the problems in front of you. But just stay focused and consistent, have that clarity, and that's what you can change your habits. You can actually go for change your habits.
Absolutely. I think we as humans like evidence, like to see evidence, and what you talk about clarity is about evidence, right? When someone brings to you an idea and says, "This is how you should do this," if you see the evidence in it, and clarity is that evidence that you see that, okay, I do this, this is the result. That is the clarity I'm getting. So if you're using that lens to burn the paper, and you have to really keep your hand focused so that the rays of the sun pass through and they really really burn through the paper. If you keep shaking it, moving it, it's not going to happen. You can't then say that the sun has gone cold,
Yep.
and you can't then say the paper's too thick. It isn't. It's you who hasn't been steady.
I think there's
So
one more thing, and I want to just value add on what you said over there. Like, if you have more evidence to believe something, you would go about believing it. And I just want to give everything by an example because I love it. That, like, if you go church for like 20 years, you will start believing it, right? Like, you start getting into that. So you have done certain actions, and then you start believing it. If you go about learning Spanish every Thursdays, and you go about doing it, you'll start feeling that your belief of you being studious just get reinforces. So that is evidence. So actions, your actions provide evidences of who you are. Like, I can
absolutely.
have to sum it up. Whatever the actions you are, and they prove as the evidence, like, of who you are as a personality, who you are as an identity. I can say that.
Simon Sinek talks about the why,
Yeah.
and I think beyond the why is the who. The who is who you're being in that moment. Are you being somebody who's curious? Are you being somebody who's being concerned? Or are you being someone who's just going to be a victim of circumstances? So the who is absolutely important. And Yash, on that note, I would like to ask you, who are you today?
I told you I'm like a very curious soul. So I just love about experimenting everything that I do. And who am I as a person is what I've realized over a period of time is, if I have something to do, I'll just go about doing it. So I will not stop myself. And to be honest, like, I had this dream of mine to have parties on yacht, and I've actually started doing it from last week. So that's been like, you had the dream. I would go about parties, having parties in Dubai yachts. I'd go watch the sundowners and all sort of this thing. And then I created a community out of it, and then started working on it every single week. So it's like, who am I as a person is just a curious soul who wants to explore everything that is there for me in this world to explore, and just being a lifelong learner, I can say, and a preacher, a learner and a preacher.
And a preacher who preaches his talk, I'm sure. So thank you very much for being on the show.
It's my
And once again, it's been a pleasure to have you on board. Definitely, you've created a ripple effect of empowerment, as I was saying, and may the circle keep growing. Thank you once again. Thank you,
thank you.
everybody, for joining us, and wish
Do
you a good night.
subscribe to the YouTube channel if you guys are here, please, please, because there's a lot of effort that goes into to create such a platform. And I've been into this. I know for a fact there's a lot of efforts that goes in the backside of this to put up this show. Not even me, like, I'm like the least person, but there have been other big influencers that came to this platform. So just do subscribe to the YouTube channels. It really means a lot. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Yes, that means a lot. Thank you, guys. Thank you again. Good night. Have a great rest of the day. Bye bye.